and the Spice Isle Imaging Center.
Drug abuse, cancer,
measles, diabetes, AIDS, cancer.
Good evening once again, and welcome to Doctor on Call. Of course, we are live and in studio with me. Well, of course, I don't have to pretend. He's in studio with me, Dr. Augustine Panchoo. Yes, indeed. And this evening, we continuing from our forum, which we held 2 weeks ago. We did promise you that we were going to bring back all our panelists to go into more details on some of the subject of discussions that we had. We understand that many of you were not able to, call in with your questions, of course, because of the time constraint. But of course, we are here and we will be able to accommodate your questions and to go into some more depth on the issue of mental health, one that is very, very, very important and in recent times has been coming more and more to the fore right here in Grenada. So, Dr. Panchoo, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you again.
Well, thank you, Godfrey. Thank you for having me again on this program. And thank you, listeners, for chiming in and for participating when the time is right, and for giving us a listening ear. And as Godfrey has alluded to, mental health is really, if you listen to me, if you had a reason to listen during our presentations two weeks ago, I have a working definition for mental wellness, and that is mental wellness is a way of life, Godfrey. It is what we do. It is who we are, how we make decisions, how we deal with our relationships, how we budget, how we pay respect to people, and so it's a way of life. Mental wellness is a way of life, and when mental wellness is challenged, or when it doesn't exist, the resulting cause is what we refer to as mental illness.
Yes, indeed. And Dr. Panchoo, we know and we've learned that mental health, it doesn't just happen. Like physical fitness, it takes effort.
Yes.
You have to work at it, and there are principles guiding it. And I want us to talk a little bit about that this evening. If you want to be able to experience or to have good mental health, just as how, when you want to feel strong, you want to have strong muscles, you go jogging, you eat well, you go to the gym, you do all of that and you gain your physical strength.
Yeah.
Let's put that in the context of mental health.
Okay.
What do we need to do to have, in other words, as my good friend on Bonanza would say, to have some muscles in your brain?
Right. That's a really good question.
Yes.
I think, Godfrey, what we have to understand, the very, very first hurdle to mental wellness that we must address and we must be mindful of is the stigma that's associated with mental illness. Now, so when in the Grenadian vernacular, when we talk about mental illness, we are more focusing on a severe mental condition, or sometimes more bipolar or schizophrenia. That is where you probably need institutionalization and medication. Okay, and a lot of times when we look at that, we tend to think, well, I am not crazy, and so there are stigmatized words that we use for the mentally ill, or people living with so I want to say tonight, we when we talk about mental illness, we are talking about people living with mental illness, not the mentally ill, because when we talk about the mentally ill, we are categorizing people by the emotional and mental functioning, and because there are people who have been diagnosed with a mental health deficit, but they function really well because, as you have the question you were asking is, how do they do that? Well, they do that by surrounding themselves maybe with positive people, or when they're challenged, they know when and how and to whom to seek help from, and that's really important. You see, let me go back to the stigma, Godfrey, because we really have to start. Well, we've started to educate people. You see, because people may have a depressive condition. So let's say you lost a loved one, which is a very traumatic experience. You are going to be sad, and you are going to experience what we refer to as grief. And grief has a process. Part of the process of grieving is a state of depression. And so sometimes you may need to speak to a professional. Okay, you may need to take some form of medication to help you sleep, maybe to regain your appetite, or maybe you have lost a zest for life. Okay, let's say you lost your wife, really and truly, your soulmate. So a lot of people think that if I were to ask for help from a professional, he or she or the world will think I am crazy.
Right.
And so that's the very first hurdle that we need to understand and to embrace it, but not in a negative way, to embrace it in a positive way, to see that if you seek help for a mental health challenge or deficit, that is a sign of strength, Godfrey. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's a cry for help. So the first thing is to dismantle the stigma that's affiliated with mental health. Then, number 2, surround yourself with positive people. Godfrey, birds of a feather do flock together.
Yes,
right? If you surround yourself with negative, gossipy, toxic people, you become like them. They affect you and infect you. Okay? Also, try to get a lot of sleep. Sleep is really important to our mental health, because what? Our bodies have a way of producing neurotransmitters and chemicals for brain activity and other vitality. And one of the chemicals produced by the brain is melatonin. Melatonin, what does it do? It helps you to fall asleep. So if you're struggling with sleep and you can't sleep and you stay awake, you deprive the body of producing melatonin. And the melatonin is at its peak. It's produced in the wee hours between 2 and 3:30 in the morning. Yeah. And so that's the best time to sleep, Godfrey.
Right.
Yes. So if you want your body to produce enough melatonin to help you to fall asleep consistently. Another thing is that sometimes people, what they do is that they eat a lot of heavy food, or they may drink a lot of, a strong drink. Well, not necessarily alcohol, but I'm talking about sugary
food.
So guess what? You find yourself tossed in and turning. So I tell people all the time that if you want good mental health, is to practice something we call sleep hygiene. Take a shower, make sure your bed sheets are clean, and you watch what I'm saying.
Nice environment.
Right. So you see, we're talking mental health, but I'm talking about a lot of physical things around you, because mental health wellness is a way of life. It's how we approach it, and it's what we do about it.
Right. So in other words, you have to be able to think accurately. And you mentioned sleep, and a lot of healing takes place while you sleep as well.
Yes.
So you think accurately. But then here is my question to you. How does one think accurately? Now here's a scenario. So I'm lying at home at night in my bed, maybe about after 11, maybe looking at television, just about to fall asleep, and I hear this noise how do I bring myself then to, and it's an unfamiliar noise, how do I bring myself to not think that, well, maybe a robber is trying to enter my house, you know? And when you start thinking that, of course, the body, the brain goes in a different place, because one, you may start feeling anger, you might start feeling fear, you might, you know, and all of these things happen, and so it interferes with the accuracy of your thinking. How do we deal with that? How do we bring ourselves outside of that so that we can maintain that focus, we can maintain that state of mind that would help us to act in the best possible way?
Okay, well, let me tell you this. First of all, if you're in the quiet of your home or in the safety of your car, it doesn't matter. If you feel safe in a place, that's a good thing. Our bodies and our brain is programmed to deal with unexpected occurrences, whether it is a noise, a gunshot, or a loud squeal from another human being. Our bodies are programmed to respond to the unexpected, because part of our primitive brain, okay, let's go brain work now, okay? You see, because when we're developing, the first part of our brain that develops is really the brain connected to the spinal cord, right, which ultimately forms into what we call the central nervous system, okay? And part of that brain that is developing is the primitive brain, is the first set of brain. And what brain do or help us to accomplish? One is to keep the body's temperature at equilibrium so that we stay constantly. If it gets too hot, we sweat. If it gets too cold, we freeze up, to satisfy hunger. So that part of the brain is really a selfish piece, you know, because when we're thirsty, we cry for food. When we are hungry, our tummies go growl. That's the brain at work. People don't understand. People think, okay, my tummy is growl. No, it's the brain. Is all brain stuff. And that primitive brain, part of it, it's the amygdala. Big word, you don't have to remember that. But that helps us to deal with the unexpected noise. Okay, and what the amygdala does is to help us to produce adrenaline and cortisol. All right, so the adrenal gland, so the amygdala sends a message to the adrenal gland, produce adrenaline. So Godfrey, if you are in the quiet of your home and you hear a loud noise, the hair on your arm raises. Well, it doesn't just raise,
but you get that sensation, that feeling, yes.
Because the body has a way it now needs to protect itself. Well, you get up. Very often you hear people talk about the fight or flight, yeah. Or freeze. Well, there is a third F, is the one for freeze.
Yes.
So you either run, you stand up and fight, or you just stand up in a catatonic way, kind of frozen. It's like, okay, do whatever you want now thing, whatever it is, right? Very funny. But so this part of our brain triggers that. So there is adrenaline by the adrenal gland, and there is cortisol by the amygdala to prepare us. And what it is really, it's a rush of sugar. Godfrey, that sugar is glucose, really. As an athlete, you know that. I remember that. Okay, and that rush of sugar prepares us now to deal with that crisis, that loud noise, that unexpected, whatever it is, knock on the door. Okay, if you attend to it, you get up, you utilize that cortisol or that adrenaline. You come back to what the body comes back to a state of equilibrium. Now, part of the peripheral nervous system, right, big words, simply means the way the body responds. There is a part called the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is where we get the word sympathy. That is the body's way of feeling.
Yeah. Emotion and all of that.
Right. And so what happens here is that that unexpected noise that you notice, that unexpected noise, the number of things that have been triggered
just because of
that, it puts the body in disequilibrium, it puts the body in disarray. So now comes the calming, right? So sometimes we say, do some meditation, listen to some soft music, do some prayer, some yoga, maybe drink some chamomile tea, or if you have a diffuser, you put on some lavender that helps you to sleep, relax, and relax. One of the worst things that you could do, Godfrey, is to watch TV from your bed. I'm telling you that. For your mental health, TV must be watched in the living room. That's why it's called a family room. So when you go to bed is for really two things, Godfrey. You know what they are?
Oh, yes.
Right, okay, yes. Both of them starts with S. Right. And these are the only... So people who eat on the bed, and they're creating a pathway in the brain so that watch this, that's why a lot of people have difficulty falling asleep, because they do so many things in bed. So when they go to bed, the brain is confused. Okay, so what are we doing now? Are we playing Scrabble? Are we reading? Are we going to do the S, or are we going to do the S? So the brain is confused. But if you keep your bed, and you wire your brain to know that there are only two things that happen on your bed, every time you go, the body expects either one of the two, and you will fall asleep easier.
Yes.
But you go there to watch TV, you play Scrabble, you do laundry, you fold your laundry on your bed, you eat on your bed, crumbs on your bed. So your body and your mind, they are confused.
But one might argue, Dr. Panchoo, that when you go into your bedroom and you put on your TV, you fall asleep.
Well,
you hear most people say that they put on the TV and the TV end up watching them.
Yes, and that is a truism. Definitely, if you're tired enough, you put on it, or you take a book and you fall asleep. And maybe these are what we call auxiliary trinkets that help us to reach a certain state of mind. It could be sedative, and so act as a sedative. In other words, you take a book you don't like reading, so you fall asleep, right?
Yes.
Really and truly.
Yes.
But so let's come back to a little about how the body works, and I want us to remember tonight that there is a very close working relationship between our physical being and the mental being, the emotional being. And a lot of times people don't understand whatever happens in the body, to the flesh, to this anatomical structure, affect what goes on in the brain. And mental health wellness is closely related to physical wellness. And if we take care of this body, we're taking care of the mind also. See, we can't abuse the body and expect the mind to
function well,
because they go parallel capacities. Okay, and you abuse the body with substance, with all kinds of stuff, and sometimes music too. We abuse the body with all of those, and then we expect the mind to be clear, to function right. Why are you snapping this morning? Did you have enough sleep? Did you have a balance? Or did you have breakfast?
You wake up on the wrong side of the bed.
We don't really, there is no wrong side of the bed, but we
just
understand that.
Yes, this is what,
we understand that to mean that you did not have an emotionally sound waking up. That's what it is,
Right.
Yeah, you did not have an emotionally sound waking up. Something fret you. Somebody messed with your state of mind. Okay? And so that's why it's so important, Godfrey, to sleep with somebody you like.
No.
Sleep close to somebody. Yes.
I want to say this now, folks. You notice that we have gone a little bit, but the whole idea is to put this into context so you understand the importance of mental health and how you need to work on your mental health so you remain focused at all times. Dr. Panchoo, there's a saying: thoughts are like viruses, and if you let the wrong one in, it can do all of the harm to you.
Absolutely. It becomes toxic to the system. And I was looking at a picture recently of a rotten fruit, and there were healthy looking fruits around it, and the person showed a second day picture of how that rotten fruit started to infest and affect the others. And the lesson here for me was, if you put toxic people, it doesn't matter how well you think your emotional well-being is, if you put toxic thoughts in there, it contaminates what is there. The good pieces start falling apart. And you see a lot of emotionally stable people put themselves with toxic people, whether it's a boyfriend, a girlfriend, in relationships, and then they start falling apart, and people are wondering, yes. I am telling you, they're wondering, what has become of this person? Why is this person acting this way? Well, if you surround yourself with unhealthy people, you start to become unhealthy.
And I'm very happy that this is coming out, because a lot of times we probably don't realize these are some of the errors that we make, and when things start going wrong, what is the common thing? Somebody spoil him.
Yeah. Nobody spoils you. In fact, your choices are the things that are now messing with your emotional wellness. Okay, so think of what we do. We really need to think more, put more thought into our actions, put more thought into our decisions. That's why mental health wellness is a way of life. It's how we do things, the respect we have for people, how we balance our checkbook, how we figure how we're gonna spend the last $100. Whether we're gonna drink it or spend it in Easter, or we're gonna go to a show, or we're gonna spend it on bread and cheese for the family. These are all mental health wellness checks and balances for us.
Okay, now Dr. Panchoo, there is a saying that you can tolerate a little short-term pain, and I'm in the context of mental health, right? To avert long-term suffering, and let me just set that up here. A lot of times we may be in a situation where we may be a little uncomfortable, but we don't want to be uncomfortable at all. Not paying attention to what can happen down the line. Yeah, and it fits in well with accurate thinking again, and I'm kind of dwelling on it a bit because I think it is so very important, right? As it relates to mental health, all right. Let's put that into context. The issue of maybe a little short-term pain to avert long-term suffering.
Well, there is a whole bundle of truth in what you just said. Let me revert to a story I sometimes tell. This young boy saw a pooper. The stage in which the insect is encapsulated.
Yes.
Okay. And he figured that he had seen it before. He had seen a beautiful butterfly coming from the cocoon. And he figured he couldn't wait. He had one and he wanted the butterfly to fly out in all its beauty.
Yes.
And he couldn't wait, so he started to tear it open. Well, what happened was that out came a butterfly. but it was not the beautiful
Full
butterfly.
that he hoped for.
No, because the wing were underdeveloped. It couldn't flap. He couldn't fly. And he asked his mom, what happened? Well, she said, you know what? Here is the science about it. The science is that you allow the butterfly to bust open the cocoon and to wiggle its way, because as it wiggles its way, it's developing the muscles and the strength in its wings, so that when it busts open, it is already prepared to fly. You see, sometimes it is important for us to allow people to experience pain, sometimes even through what we call tough love, so that it could, in the long run, they could come out better. And that's a lesson for parents too. And we're still talking mental health here.
Of course.
You see? Because sometimes we believe that if I give my child everything, he or she is going to have a better start than the others. Well, what parents need to understand is that sometimes the struggle of the child, the struggle, you know, Godfrey, you know about the struggle, right? Of us growing up. We grew up together. So we know the struggle. These days, you know, children don't want to take bus because parents have vehicles. You understand?
That's right.
Nobody knows about putting a bundle of wood on your head so that you could cook, because everybody got gas. And they do not have the small one. Everybody got a 100-pound cylinder.
Yes.
What is that telling us about our mental health? Well, it is probably paralyzing some children into believing that the world is such a lovely, happy place, that one day when they do get into their family and they are faced with crises, they start questioning, how did my parents not tell me that life is not all about these glorious pieces, but there are struggles in it? So the question you ask is it okay to take on a little pain now, so that in the long run I can benefit? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes.
Dr. Panchoo, let's take a short break. When we come back, we will bring it home a bit and deal with some of the issues that we are experiencing in Grenada. Stay with us. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
The Rotary Clubs in Grenada introduce the Good Neighbor Initiative, a program designed to assist individuals and families who require short-term assistance with electricity bill payment and the cost associated with rewiring of homes due to fires and natural disasters. If you or someone you know is in need of help, please visit our website at www.goodneighborinitiative.org. The Good Neighbor Initiative, helping individuals and families with short-term electricity bill payments and electrical wiring, one neighbor at a time.
Level of convenience and comfort awaits you when you shop at Rise and Shine Supermarket and Hardware Supplies, Griffin Lane, Grenville. Convenient, because we are open Sunday to Sunday. We're even at your service on public holidays. Comfort, because we are easily accessible to the physically challenged. Free Wi-Fi is available while you shop, and bags come at no charge. Everyday low prices and excellent customer care. Adequate parking available. We supply everything you can possibly think of. Family and home supplies, fresh meat, vegetables, and personal care products. All brands of cooking gas at affordable prices. You can send in your order, have it pulled, or pick up express.
Building or renovating your home or business? Why not use clean, renewable energy? Install solar panels to power your home and office and see your energy costs go down and your savings go up. Using renewable solar-powered energy protects our environment, reduces our carbon footprint, and slows the devastating impact of climate change. Republic Bank can help to finance construction and renovations that make use of renewable energy. Visit any Republic Bank branch and ask about renewable energy financing options today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you. stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
If there was ever a time to keep and stay healthy, it's now. We at Hills and Valley are here to help you take deliberate steps to maintain your health. We stayed true to maintaining the most comprehensive rates while stocking the widest range of medicines and health devices, including personal protective equipment. There are so many benefits shopping with us. You get great savings through discounts for senior citizens and reward cards for loyal customers. Ask about owning yours today. Visit us at Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George, Jubilee Street opposite the Grenville Bus Terminal, and at Hillsborough, Carrico. Our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street also stocks the widest range of pharmaceuticals. We are with you on the hills and in the valleys. We are Hills and Valley Pharmacy.
During these times, we are facing the same obstacles, changes, and no rules to get through it. We had to find the power from within, pushing limits and conquering every training session to ignite our minds and give our muscles the fuel they need. Powerade Advanced Iron 4 formula with its flavors Mountain Blast, Fruit Punch, and Jagged Ice gives you fast hydration after sweating because of its 4 electrolytes to go the extra mile. Powerade, feel the power.
Here is a little known fact. There is only one place in Grenada that you can get an MRI scan done. That place is Spicile Imaging Center. Yes, Grenada, that's the truth. Other centers could offer you other scans, but Spicile Imaging provides an authentic MRI scan. Here's another little known fact. Spicile Imaging has 3 centers. We operate at Grenville, the Carnage, and at the Ocean House, Grandlands. We provide the widest range of laboratory tests and services. CT scans, x-rays, mammograms, ultrasounds, and a host of other services. We are fully staffed by a team of family doctors and specialists. Call us today at 444-7679. or 406-1500, or visit any of our 3 locations. Spicile Imaging, from seeing the doctor to getting lab tests, scans, and pharmacy services. We are here to take care of you.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Doctor on Call. Dr. Augustine Panchoo is with us, in case you joined us late, and we're talking mental health, just extending from our health forum. And we had some general discussions on how you can actually improve your mental health. But Dr. Panchoo, I think we need to move on a bit. And we in recent times have been seeing and hearing of some rather unfortunate stories, of people who have been mentally challenged. And I think it's important for us to talk about the downside of not having good mental health. How can someone be disadvantaged, so to speak, by not having good mental health or good state of mental wellness?
Right. So since our working definition for mental wellness is a way of life, how we treat people, how we talk to people, how we make decisions about everything. We come to the point where we understand that some people living with mental illness did not acquire a mental illness or a mental health deficit because they did something. We have mental illness that are genetic. genetically engineered, as it were.
Yes.
You know, it is passed on from one generation.
Yes.
And especially schizophrenia, which is probably the most notable and the most severe form of mental illness that people grapple with.
Let me just stop you for a minute, and I just want you to quickly just put that into context, because we hear these big terms, schizophrenia. Let's just break it down a bit.
Okay.
When we speak of schizophrenia, tell us exactly what is it.
Right. So schizophrenia is a severe mental health condition where people who suffer from schizophrenia exhibit three major symptoms. One, they experience what is referred to as delusions.
Right.
So they may see things, but they are not real to the rest of us.
Right.
They hear things, but we can't hear it. Then you have what is called hallucinations. Then you have disorganized speech. And we have a fourth one, that is disassociation. That is where you are cut off from reality. In other words, so you disassociate. It's just a big word that simply means I have lost touch with reality. So I act a certain way. If you see people walking the street, sometimes they're either hallucinating, they are under delusions, or they are disassociating. In other words, they have cut out with reality. Okay? So they may be doing things with the body that are not it doesn't make sense to us, but to them it makes a lot of sense, because they may be hearing a voice telling them,
this is the way to go.
This is the way to go. I need to run from here to Grenville. You know, we have one from La Poterie.
Yes.
Famous. Yes. He tacks on pieces of aluminium zinc on every telephone post and every mango tree between La Poterie and Grenville.
Yes.
Okay? On a daily basis, he does that, because he is compulsed by a voice that tells him that's the way to go.
This is what has to be done.
And so that is what schizophrenia is. Some people suffer what is called episodic schizophrenia. In other words, maybe 2 or 3 times for the year they may have what is called a psychotic break, and so they go into this zone where they lose touch, and then if you take them to Mungay or any other psychiatric facility, you stabilize them with some medication and some therapy, and they're good to go again for another 3 or 4 months. So they suffer from what is called episodic schizophrenia. And then there are full-blown schizophrenic people who really can't maintain a job, stay good, maintain family relationships, and they're very careless about the hygiene and stuff. And so you know, we look down upon them, unfortunately, because we don't understand the plight. Let me tell you something, Godfrey. If I were to ask you to put on 3 different kinds of music here, and you and I are talking, and someone comes into the room and I say to them, listen to that, this is what happens in the head of a full-blown schizophrenic.
Yeah.
So many things going on at the same time, and they cannot make sense out of it.
Is that a result of damaged brain cells, or, I mean, aside from maybe, well, genetic or so, damaged brain cells?
Yes, sometimes people may experience what is called a TBI, traumatic brain injury, right? And it doesn't come just from an accident. So you may be involved in a car accident, you may fall from a tall building, or something, you know, somebody hits you a whack on the head with a hammer. You know, that's a TBI. But sometimes developmentally, watch this, Godfrey, there are some carcinogen and teratogens that are formed in food and water and in medications, when taken in infancy or by the mom during the development of the fetus can damage certain brain connections.
Okay.
And people are born with certain neurological deficits. The synapse in the brain, SYNAPS, just not firing. It's not connecting. And it could be because of some chemicals that they ingest in food and it passes on to the baby. And we don't know until a lot of tests are done by, advanced testing and imagery and all of that. But so also, substance, Godfrey, excessive use of alcohol and or stimulants, inhaling of paints and glue and psychedelics, marijuana and mushrooms and all of that, they can affect the developing brain. And I want you to know that tonight. There was I listened to a program sometime when the marijuana debate about about the destruction of the teenage brain and all of that. Yes, Godfrey, at a certain stage in the person's development, the brain is very susceptible to the toxins in smoking and etc. And as you get older, you become less vulnerable. But one of the things that really can cause schizophrenia is the destruction of certain neural connections in the early stages. So that and bad genes or inherited genes and a traumatic brain injury can result in that. And sometimes pure, no injury, no bad chemicals ingested by your parents, but the brain, Godfrey, the brain is an organ just like the heart, just like the kidney, just like the liver. And there are times when the brain just didn't do right. Okay? It just didn't do right. And so there are certain connections that the brain, even though there is what we call brain plasticity, that is the ability of the brain to regenerate, like you see an earthworm, you cut it in two and it becomes two complete. The brain has the ability to do that also. And sometimes the brain just fails us. And when it does, you may have a mental illness, a mental health deficit.
Right, excellent. So I want us to just go back now because I wanted to put that, so that people, our listeners, understand, when you hear some of these terms, and from time to time they will have to come out, folks, so that you get a good appreciation of what we're talking about here, because this is a very serious issue. So we're going back to some of the downsides and some of the dangers of poor mental health.
Okay, let me say this here, Godfrey. When a person is experiencing emotional ill health or has a mental illness, whether diagnosed or not, when a person is experiencing that, it puts other people in danger.
Yes.
I remember that. It's a way of life. Mental health wellness is a way of life. It's how I treat people. It's how I learn to work along with my peers. People don't understand that. That's mental health wellness. And so, Godfrey, let me show you this. If I walk, it's Easter weekend. I shower, shave, put on my best Sunday suit, all my Nike stuff, and I put on Tommy Hilfiger perfume, right? And then I put a cutlass in my waist.
Yes.
There is one reason I'm putting it there. Is because I feel weak. That's it. I feel vulnerable. I feel insecure. I feel half of a man or no man at all. So I'm going to put a cutlass there because that cutlass is going to make me a man. You see the mental health deficit? He doesn't have, or she does not have, a mental health diagnosis. They're not on meds, they're not seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist. They're cool in the community. They may be married, they may have children, they got a job. But they do that. So they're walking around living with a mental health condition, but we don't know it. Okay? So when, Godfrey, when I choose to write a check for money I don't have in the bank, you see? Godfrey, we drive in Grenada. Grenada got some extraordinarily interesting roads.
Yes, indeed. I like how you put it.
Yes. There is no other way to put it, right?
Yes.
You know? And I'm not just talking about the absolute gigantic potholes and stuff, but I'm talking about the corners.
Yes.
Godfrey, last time you check and I check, every vehicle, whether it is 10 feet long or 20 feet long, is a straight line. I've never seen a curved vehicle yet. So think of it. When you're driving around a corner, absolutely, there has to be times when this straight line, 14 feet straight line, must cheat on somebody else's. So if I'm coming around a corner and I do not understand this physics, just a simple fact that a straight line cannot go around a corner unless it cheats. When I speed around the corner, Godfrey, I am living with a mental illness. I am. When you walk in the school, Godfrey, as a parent, and you say, I'm going to give the principal or the teacher peace of my mind, you know well here. So you have no diagnosis, but you are living with a mental health deficit. So that's the downside. We live, and I said that the last time when people are saying, Dr. P, what kind of figures you get? I said Grenada has about 20 to 25,000 people living with mental health deficits. Politicians.
Oh yeah, they top the list.
Doctors, psychologists, teachers, parents, bus drivers, conductors, everybody. Okay? We're living with it. Because when we make all these rash decisions and all these toxic, treacherous choices that we make, it's here it's coming from.
But how do we address these issues, Dr. Panchoo? Because you see, I'm thinking here, I'm listening to you, and it makes a lot of sense. And of course, the example you gave of being on the road. I'm on the road every day, and I experience these things. Sometimes when I see them, I just stop and I wait. You know, I would rather be late than to risk, putting myself in danger. You know, and you know that, listen, this is not right. But how do we deal with that? How do we deal with that? Because if I'm thinking here now that, look, if situations are like these are not dealt with, some of these individuals can get worse.
Yeah, and they do. They really do. Listen, Godfrey, we live in a world where you ask the question about the downside and how we address it and how we live with it. Listen, there are people who show selfishness is a sign of weakness here. Yeah. When I have no regard for other people, when I take that which does not belong to me. I just saw a farmer, small axe, posting about his soursop. He went this morning to harvest, and they were not there. Okay? When somebody walks into his land and takes it and sells it, they're not right here. Because that's selfishness. And so your question is, how do we curb it? How do we help people? Well, we sensitize people. But mental health deficit, since it's a way of life, mental health wellness is a way of life, we are going to live with people for the rest of our lives. That way. That's why we need good judges and lawyers and court system, because we are going to have rascals in our lives all the rest of our lives. There's no question about it. Yeah. We will help some. Those who suffer from seasonal stuff or short-term stuff or people who want to change their behaviors and change their way of life. But there are some people, Godfrey, who are stuck in their ways and they are wrong and they don't know that they are wrong.
And that's the problem.
Yes.
So how does someone like that seek help? I mean,
they won't seek help.
Right.
And the thing, the interesting thing about mental health wellness is that you can't take somebody to see the psychiatrist or the psychologist and say fix him. Now you could, if somebody has a sore foot, you could drag them and go to the clinic and they tie them wrong and they put mercurochrome on it and they band it and that get better. But if the brain is not functioning, then I bring you there and you shut down on me. Well, no, we can't, because we can't address the internal workings of the brain in that way. It has to be somebody who is willing. And they are males. Take, for example, let me say this here. We got to do it 100 times for the year this year, right? But listen to this, Godfrey. If somebody is stuck on, we say stuck on stupid, but if they are stuck in their ways, but their ways are not culturally accepted, you understand? Let's say we have something called intimate partner violence. If I feel I need to exert my influence in the house and let the woman know who is the man here by beating her up, and we can't change that, Godfrey. We could jail him. He comes right back and does the same thing again. We could castrate them. We could do all kinds of stuff, demasculate them. But the thing about it, people like that, when you bring it to their attention and they want to change, now that's the success story. When somebody says, you know what, no, I have a distorted, disorganized view of manhood or womanhood and I need to change, they can seek help. We can reconfigure the way that the brain has been forced to function or wired to function. We can change that. Any bad behavior, Godfrey, we can change in 27 days. We can literally change any behavior in 27 days.
Right.
So if you have some bad behaviors, Godfrey, in a year time, we could change about 10 of them. We could really do that. But that's for people who are willing, people who recognize something is not right. I'm walking in a dance, everybody's having fun, and somebody spills a drink on me, and then I go home and get my filoto or my gun, and I come back and I start, Mental health, wellness is a way of life, and we have to promote it.
Dr. Panchoo, I want to go back a bit because what you're saying here, I think there could be another side to it in terms of providing help for people, and in the area of cognitive development. And we're talking about from as early as probably age 2, 3 coming up there. And during those ages, children can experience different type of traumas, or they can have different experiences that can probably later on manifest itself in some of the ways that you refer to.
Right.
Let me take you to the clinic now. How are we going to get to that? How does the clinical psychologist go back, let's say 30 years to when that young man was probably 3 or 4 and was exposed exposed to some kind of violence or some kind of ill treatment that grew with him and then later on is manifesting. As a clinical psychologist, how would you approach a situation like that to get to the source of that problem and then start the process of helping that individual?
Very good question. That's a clinical question, Godfrey. And we have time for the answer, right?
Yes, we have a lot of time for the answer.
Okay, right. So, we are products of our upbringing. Remember that. So, Dr. Nixon, bless your heart, Dr. Nixon, where are you tonight?
Yes.
Will tell us, and Dr. Martin
yes,
will tell us that our bodies is the product of what we eat. Psychologically, our life becomes reflective of our upbringing, our childhood experience, Godfrey. Let me go back now for all the teachers who are listening and people who did even just basic psychology 101. One of the most famous psychologists developed a theory called the theory of psychosocial development. His name is Erik Erikson. He says that from birth to 1 year to or a year and a half, the child learns to develop trust of the world. What does that mean? What does he mean by that? He says, okay, here is the example. The baby, the infant we call, gets dirty, poops himself, he cries. He is crying. Either he is hungry, he has pooped himself, or he hasn't heard the voice of his caregiver in a little while, so he cries. Well, so he cries, Godfrey, because he doesn't have words. So watch me. Any adults in a relationship, I'm looking at adults now, I have this one for you. If you're an adult in a relationship and when you and your partner start to argue or to discuss, you start crying, you are going back to when you were 1 year old. Godfrey, you asked me that. You are going back to when you were 1 year old and you cried and nobody came. Use your words. So here is how the child develops trusting of the world. Godfrey, as a parent, you know your baby cries, you go. When you go, you check, you may smile, say hi, lift the baby up. Immediately the cry comes to an end. Yes. You check if the pamper is wet, you change it. Johnson & Johnson little wipes, then Johnson & Johnson baby powder, and then you put back a little Huggies on the baby. Baby butt is warm, baby smiles.
Yeah, start to kick up.
And baby says, you know what? This world is a really great place. Because when I poop my pants and I cry, my father Godfrey comes and he loves me up. So this world is a safe place. Now, go on the flip side. The child cries. The mother is strung out on alcoholism, or she in some kind of mind on texting on Facebook, and the child feels neglected. Well, that could do two things for the child. One, he says, you know what, this world is a crappy shithole. Oh, I could say that on TV? Yeah. Because when I cry, nobody comes. Nobody bother with me. They don't even like me. Godfrey, from age 1, children start to know that the world don't like them and the parents don't like them. That's how it is developed, according to the theory of Erik Erikson. And trust me, a lot of that is true. Because I see it in my practice. Children who, where is that coming from? My parents don't love me. They provide for you. Yeah, but they don't love me. Well, it's coming from that base there. Okay? Or, the child cries, Godfrey. The parent didn't come. the child stop cry, and they now become insensitive to the rest of the world. They say the world don't care a shit about me, and I certainly don't care a shit about the world. You wonder where psychopathic people come from? That is those who will walk in the dance hall with a cutlass and just chop up everybody. That's where they come from.
You know, Dr. Panchoo, you're saying this, and my mind is going, and you're seeing so many people, and unfortunately a lot of young females who get pregnant. There's no one around. They don't have no form of support, and they have these children. The children are hungry, and probably because of not being in a position to reach out there and to provide for that child what that child needs, that child starts seeing the world differently.
Absolutely, Godfrey. There is something called vicarious trauma. That is trauma that children internalize from watching a father slap the mother. And I'm talking about 1-year-old children, I'm not talking about teenagers, The way you speak to 2-year-olds know when you and your spouse didn't wake up on the bed on the right side of the bed. They know, they feel it. And so sometimes children absorb all of this toxic and negative relationship that adults we put on them, and they grow up with this hatred, this anger. Listen, Godfrey, I've seen some angry people in this world,
Oh, yes.
Angry. Listen, you dare not tell them anything in public, or you dare not correct them, or you dare not say that this thing could be done differently.
No, definitely.
They are angry. They'll kill. They'll hurt. They'll make.
I get it as on my program sometimes.
Yes,
you say something that doesn't, suit the purpose, and you become the worst person.
Yes. And so we live in a world in which there are a lot of angry people. People, again, as I said, walking around, 20,000 Grenadians. Know me who say that, is PAHO and WHO. 35% of all adults, 49% of teenagers walk around with a mental illness.
Let's take a final break here. When we come back, we'll open the telephone line. Stay with us, folks. We'll be back with you in just a moment. When we come back, we want to hear from you. Stay with us.
The Nawasa app brings the power of Nawasa's customer service experience to you. Instant, conversational, and smart. Easy access anywhere. Get bill balance, transaction history for up to 6 months, report a fault, link to websites, view payment centers, contact information, push notifications, and multi-tenant accounts, all in a secure login platform. Like a self-service concierge app, mobile.nawasa.gd gets you the support you need much faster. Available on both Android and iOS platforms. Mobile.nawasa.gd, your customer support companion. Nawasa, committed to meeting customers' needs.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment. As you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest, visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
Level of convenience and comfort awaits you when you shop at Rise and Shine Supermarket and Hardware Supplies, Griffin Lane, Grenville. Convenient, because we are open Sunday to Sunday. We're even at your service on public holidays. Comfort, because we are easily accessible to the physically challenged. Free Wi-Fi is available while you shop, and bags come at no charge. Everyday low prices and excellent customer care. Adequate parking available. We supply everything you can possibly think of. Family and home supplies, fresh meat, vegetables, and personal care products. All brands of cooking gas at affordable prices. You can send in your order, have it pulled, or pick up express.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Join GBN on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. for Interesting Grenadians, a program that showcases the lives of interesting and outstanding Grenadians at home and abroad. It's Interesting Grenadians every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on GBN. Don't you miss it.
Gary and GT, covering all angles of your morning. Top-notch music, entertainment, live interaction.
I don't have the proper vocals. I don't know if you have the proper vocals.
Neither one of us are singers.
I don't have the proper vocals.
So let me put you on the spot. I want to hear you sing.
Happy birthday to you this morning.
Happy birthday.
Current affairs updates and so much more. So start your mornings with G Squared on Good Morning Grenada. Weekdays at 6:35 a.m. on all GBM platforms. Good Morning Grenada, covering all angles of your morning.
Welcome back, everyone. Doctor in Call, and of course, Dr. Panchoo with us here. And our telephone line is open, folks. The telephone number is 435-2041. Of course, if you have any questions or you'd like to contribute to the program, we definitely will be happy to accommodate your calls. All right, the number again, 435-2041. We're talking mental health. Yes, indeed. And let's go straight to our telephone. Doctor in Call, good evening.
Hello?
Yes, good evening, caller.
Yeah, is that the calling program?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, hello, good evening.
Yes, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I was looking at this program to know. I have an idea. It's not really a question. It's not really a question, it's an idea that I have because of the problem that we have with the policemen, with the mental people. How they handle the mental people.
Okay, caller, could you turn the volume of your radio or your TV down and listen to us on your telephone? And then you can go ahead with your comment.
Okay, yes, you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, because somewhere along the line, each one of our family would suffer a mental situation of somebody that is left behind mentally, you know? And I was saying that instead of having the policemen to deal with the mental people, the mental situation, why don't we have like a team well trained to handle the mental people and them? Because from most of what I'm seeing is that they're not trained properly to handle the mental situation in our country. You know? And if we have these people trained to handle these mental people and them like a team, special team with doctors and nurses and trained officers to handle this mental situation, we will not be in the place that we is now. So I don't know if anybody could look at it and see what's going on with that. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Dr. Panchoo, he's making reference to the way police officers deal with mental people.
Yeah.
But quickly, there are some people with mental conditions who can become violent at times.
Yes.
You need the police.
Yeah. To some extent, yes. But Godfrey, let me say this here, and I heard what the caller is asking, and there are certain points that he is making. First of all, let's say that this is a question for the policymakers.
Yes.
We're on radio. We're articulating for the emotional and mental health well-being of the nation.
Yes.
So policymakers must play their part. But yes. So here is one thing. There are times when full-blown schizophrenic patients can become violent. And here is why they become violent. Remember, there is the delusions that they experience, okay? Hearing voices. And there are two kinds of delusions. You have what is called delusions of persecution. That is where they believe that the world is against them. Yeah. I've had clients, they look there and they see the smoke detector and they say the government is listening to our conversation. And so they shut down because they believe everybody is in there to hurt them. They may be hearing the voice that says that. If you are schizophrenic and you're experiencing delusions of persecution, you could hurt people. Yes, we have had that cases, chop up people in paradise, remember? The nurse and the family and all of that. Because I am sure he was hearing voices. I have not seen the last client yet, and I plan to, but I'm sure that the one who killed the gentleman, the 79-year-old gentleman, I'm sure that's part of the of what was happening with him. You also have what is called delusions of grandeur. That's the second group. That is where they believe they are God. Oh yes. They walk the street, I am Haile Selassie, I am Jesus, because they hear voices and these voices tell them that. So sometimes they can be violent, but generally they aren't. But the main point I think what the caller is saying is that we need a more well-trained team. I think the police should be accompanied by somebody who understands
these people and what
mental health. Because if you don't and you try to apply the law, it could end up bad for both groups of people. Okay, so if you have somebody who is versed in what we call de-escalation techniques, and there are ways to do that. Yes, you could, the way you talk and the way you could articulate, you could get somebody who is delusional to acquiesce, that is to follow you and calm down and come with you peaceably. But sometimes you see you try to apply brute force. Let me tell you something. If I am schizophrenic, Godfrey, if I am schizophrenic and I'm hearing voices or I'm seeing things and you come to me with your weapon,
that's additional
that's additional agitation. And so the caller is right. Yes, when we are called to these situations, it is always good to have somebody well trained and versed in de-escalation techniques, and I don't know that we have that here.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the telephone, Doctor. Okay, we seem to have lost that one. We did a little too long. 435-204. Let's go back to the telephone. Doctor on call. Good evening.
Hey, Godfrey, good evening, and good evening to Dr. Panchoo. Is he close by to you there this evening?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Yeah, hello, Doc. Greetings.
Greetings, citizen. Roll.
Yeah, man, listen, man, we had to have a chat, man. We had to have a chat, but one day, it seems that the demon is going away. Although another one coming the jab soon, I don't know. I may start to go out again. Listen, let's get serious, Doc. I hear your deliberations there and so on, and I always feel good listening to you, my dear brother. And I don't flatter people. I say it as it is. But it tells me something. While you were talking there and made reference, you also made reference to it in the initial forum. And you extended a bit on this evening, that we live with a certain percentage, I think 20-something% is it, of our people live with some sort of mental deficiency. Did I get that correct?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Very well. Doc, I want to put a scenario to you. It's something that I've lived around, and I just thought, and based on my observations, I can very well understand where you're coming from. And I want to say also, you proved to us this evening in your deliberations too, that Einstein's theory and succinct definition of insanity is really, really as he said it. But here this scenario, Doc. A person A, we'll call the person A, is not fit for a job, but lives in a circle of important people, which he or she knows very well. So, because of that, he or she is fitted into a job where they're least prepared to function properly. But in that job, they meet people who know about the job, the operations of the place, and whatnot and whatnot. Doc, can the stresses of that job turn that person into, well, I'd like to say, can that create problems, psychological and even psychiatric problems for them as they go along, having to deal with a situation? Mind you, you have authority. You have been given authority to walk in a position and to lead and to supervise. I say lead and supervise in inverted commas. People who know the job. Can that create mental problems for that individual? I hope that my message has been clear. Pardon. Have you gotten it, Doc?
Yeah. Thank you, Citizen Roller, for that question. That's a very really pertinent question, because we have experienced people like that already. We have experienced people like that in our society. The question is, how does it affect, or can it affect a person's psychological functioning? Yes. Let me show you this. If you are placed, and sometimes we call them square pegs in a round hole, right? If you are placed in a position of responsibility for which you are not prepared, that can do a lot of things. It can make you, first of all, it can make you feel invincible. In other words, you don't have to do or be to get, right? You don't have to do or be to get, right? That simply means somebody else is looking out for you, so you can do no wrong. Because if you didn't do but you got, it means that you can do no wrong, Godfrey. You understand?
That's right.
But it also, in terms of performance, it can give you what is called performance anxiety, Godfrey. And And you are saying, whoa, what if I mess up? I am going to look so bad. And that can play in your mind, and even when given the opportunity to perform things that you may be good at, you can falter. So the answer, yes, it can have a negative impact upon your mental health, wellness, and even your self-esteem, etc. Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, let's go back to the telephone.
Yeah.
Doctor on call, good evening.
Yes, so let me start off by commending, this topic, excellent topic. I tuned in a little late, so excuse me if what I inquire, what I mention may have been mentioned already. Now, what is being done to facilitate the obvious mental persons in society? Because I can tell you, in the South area where I live, where I operate business, you understand, we are plagued. We are plagued by mental persons. It's difficult to get the police to get them off the street, and when they go up in the institution for them, they would say, let's say, a month for the most, and they come back and it's the same thing. And in Grenada, this is real. It's fun and games there. Everybody laugh, and sometimes I see the fear of our visitors, our students, and so on, because they don't know that person is mental, and they come with such aggression and so on. I mean, I have one now that want to pick up stone and do that. I mean, we really need to address the mental issue among the persons and so on in society who's just left to act and to call out and to this and to throw that and so on. I mean, take the instance with the man went into the school. So I would really like to see coming from this is greater awareness, and at the same time for persons we have a point, to put some facility or something in place to get the people that the help that they so badly deserve and need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Dr. Panchoo?
The caller is making sense. The caller is making sense because I think it's a whole misconception about people living with mental illness, Godfrey. We've talked about it. The way they're treated, but yes, not everyone, and I want the caller to remember too, not everyone suffering from schizophrenia does become violent. Okay, not everyone. They're guys with schizophrenia, and they're just in their own world because what they're hearing in the head, or the or whatever voices that is going on, they calm. It's self-soothing for them, so they are able to function in their own unique way. Without becoming violent. But we're talking about a small portion of people who, and Godfrey, most of the time, those who become violent are those who are not med compliant. In other words, right. So they may go to the clinic in Mungay. They are stabilized enough. They are now lucid and they are coherent and stable. Send them back in the community with the medication, but nobody to supervise them. And very often, a full-blown schizophrenic patient or person does not think he or she needs the medication.
Right.
Because they hear voices say they are God, if they have delusions of grandeur. Right? Or if they have delusions of persecution, they may say, you know what? They're trying to do me something in the medication. And they don't take it. And when they do not take it after a couple of days again, they get sick.
Problems. Yes,
right?
Yes,
And one of the greatest cure or asset for people suffering with mental illness, Godfrey, is a rich, warm, loving environment, whether it's family or friends. If you can provide that kind of support for someone suffering from or living with a mental illness, they do really well.
Okay, great. Let's get back to the telephone. The doctor in call, good evening. Hello?
Yes, good night.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Hello, good night, Godfrey.
Yes, good evening. Can you speak a little louder, please? Yes.
Yes, good night, Godfrey, and good night to Dr. Panchoo. What I want to... Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
Yes. What I want to find out is that how could somebody, or what should the person do to help, let's say, in a home scenario, like Doc was saying that the person wouldn't want to take the medication and so on. How should that person in the home treat the person? How should you relate to the person, like when they're saying all these stuff like the hearing voices and so on? What should what should you do in return? How to handle the situation and them so on, especially like when the person doesn't want to take the medication?
Okay, caller, thank you. Very good, very good. Dr. Panchoo.
I didn't hear.
Yes, he's asking, for example, if you have a home scenario where you have someone who is mentally ill, he's asking how does the other family members, in terms of support, let's say someone who doesn't want to take the medication, or the mentally ill person is saying and acting funny, how should the rest of the family react in terms of helping that individual? How do you treat them?
Absolutely the greatest question of the night. Let me say this, Godfrey. I tell people and family all the time that mental illness is a family disease. It's not just one. It's a family disease, because when one is sick, the entire family is affected. And so it takes a lot. It takes a really lot, and sometimes people get frustrated. They get, Godfrey, we call it burnout. They just burn out over constantly. Did you take your meds? Fighting with the person to take the medication, having to take them to Mongay. And not only that, when they do not take the meds or they leave, they vacate the house, then they are in some little old quarters, squatting somewhere. You have to go look for them to make sure that they are safe. You struggle with them to take care of their hygiene, etc., etc. I'm talking about full-blown schizophrenic people. And so it's a hard thing on the family. The family could be broken and apart because of mental illness. So this is one of the things that I think Grenada needs to remember, the family, and to be able to provide services for the family as they deal with mental illness in the family.
Okay, wonderful. Let's go back to the telephone. Dr. and Call, good evening.
Yeah, good afternoon to you.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Yes, good evening. Good evening to the doc. Now, I don't know what's for Dr. Panchoo to come to Grenada at this time, but it's late, very, very late. I'll tell you, you could bear me out there, because that was my topics over the years. 25 years ago, 30 years ago, this is a discussion with the Ministry of Education, Ms. Judy Benham, who used to be the AIDS coordinator, the Ministry of Finance, and many of the governmental organizations, Social Services Division. At least I think they got tired of me too. I recognized that our youths were becoming restless. And so I penned paper to the Ministry of Education, pointing out what was happening to the youths and to the citizens generally. And they did accept it in good faith and blame it on the parents. But I'm saying here, it's not the parent. It has to be what the economy is not doing. And I said the youth is damaged, and not only the youth, because the parents now cannot handle youth, because they're also damaged, they're restless. And so it's a breakdown on both sides. How do you fix this? Now you push education, which is the right thing to do, but are you going to push education without occupation? When you push education and people decide in other words they are going to pick up stress, the stress will be at a much, much higher level. And that's what we are doing to the youth. We push the education, which they are accepting, but after the education, up to the tertiary university, we let them go. We don't have anything for them to do. So what do you want them to do? But to behave restless. And so I don't know what Dr. Panchoo is going to recommend to fix this. But I'll tell you something. When I told the Social Service Division that we are sitting on a social time bomb, I think they took this just very, very lightly. That was more than 25, 30 years ago. You know? But look at where we are today. It's getting worse. And so my question to Dr. Panchoo is, what recommendation are you going to make to the powers that be to turn back the youths from the road which they're on? Because they're deteriorating very fast. Have a good night, sir.
Thank you, Paulo.
Can I hear pieces of the question? Summary.
Basically he's saying that we've gotten to a place where we should not have yes, education, but education without occupation really doesn't help, because if people don't have anything to do, he's asking what do you want them to do, and so based on that and maybe some of the behaviors, what are you recommending?
Well, let me say that here. People are wired. Godfrey, we are wired for greatness. We are wired for usefulness. We are wired to feel important. And so if people, go to school and they can't find gainful employment, you learn a skill, you can't find gainful employment, you feel useless. It affects who you are, your perception about you. So it is important to engage people at all levels. But let me say this here, education must not only be done to prepare you for the world of work, but it must also equip you to create work. Yeah.
Dr. Panchoo, we've gotten to the end. Actually, yes. Time has gone. Yeah. But I'm going to ask you a question, one final question, which would be your closing remarks, and that question is: mental illness is a problem, or mental, let me not even take it that far, mental deficit is a problem. We know a lot of these mental conditions are very, very, very similar. And in some cases, if we're not careful, people, not we, you, the experts like yourself, if you're not careful, we could have mistakes along the line in treating some of these mental deficiencies. So in summarizing, just remind us maybe quickly a couple ways we can help ourselves not to end up in a situation where we become mentally deficient.
Okay. Here's what I tell people, Godfrey, that treating mental illness is more difficult than treating physical ailments. I can get a vaccine, Godfrey.
Yes.
I can provide you with some antibiotics if you have an infection. I can pull a tooth if it has a cavity. I can fill it up. I can suture a cut or a wound, and in a couple of days you're good to go. In fact, I can give you a brand new kidney.
4 Grenadians are up to get.
Man, isn't that beautiful?
Yes. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, man. God bless Dr. Bristol.
Yes.
But let me say this here, and I taught her in school. So
wonderful.
so let me say this. I tell people that I wish I had a magic wand. You see, people come to me and they want me to fix them.
Yeah, they expect a miracle.
Let me say this here. I have some people with some expectations. They want one consultation. And I am supposed to cure them of a lifetime of maladjusted behaviors. And you come to me for 45 minutes and you expect me, when you leave my office, never to see me again, never to come back, because you think I'm going to cure you. It doesn't happen like that. Psychological work takes sometimes a lifetime, Godfrey. Literally a lifetime, to help you to cope with the trauma and with the deficits that exist. So my encouragement as we close tonight is to find ways to create for yourself or your family a rich, warm environment that will promote mental wellness. By the way we speak to people, Godfrey. Simple stuff. By the way we learn to respect people and their opinion, if you're a teacher. By the inclusion of people. Watch this, Godfrey. We don't even understand the extent of what inclusion means for a person's self-esteem. You know, when they were picking cricket team, I couldn't play cricket, you know, so they leave me on the sideline. But if somebody feels sorry for me if I buy a ball and they include me, I am on top of the world.
Of course.
You understand what I'm saying? Inclusion. So the way we speak to people, the way we include them in activity, the unconditional love that we give to people, not because they could give back to us. We are fostering emotional and mental wellness. So there are so many things that we could do. The way we compliment people, the way we say nice things about people in the community, like when Godfrey reached on television and we come out from Tivoli, I feel so proud, and I tell people, you understand, rather than trying to destroy him. And finally, a word to my political friends. Now is the season. You are going to be tempted. I don't care who you are, which end you are. You are going to be tempted to try to destroy people so that you could win and become the parliamentary representative for 15 constituencies. Godfrey, mark my word, you're going to call me back here because we're going to start seeing it.
Oh no, definitely have to. There's a lot
we are going to destroy people's family. We're going to destroy people's character. We are going to destroy people. We're going to say nasty, toxic, irrelevant things about them that has nothing to do with politics or the aspiration to go into parliament. Be careful. Words do hurt.
Me too. Me too.
Thank you.
Dr. Panchoo, I thank you so very much. And I just want to add one little thing. You know, a lot of times the whole issue of selfishness, we touched it briefly, and it's a very serious thing. And it's something that Dr. Nixon echoed a lot during the whole COVID period.
Yeah.
Pick up your phone, call someone, ask them how they're doing. Just reach out to someone.
Yeah.
You know, share. It helps. Someone might just be on the brink of falling over.
Yeah.
And that WhatsApp message or that phone call can just pull them right back.
Absolutely.
And let me tell you something, you might be amazed at what you have done by just that one little phone call.
Yeah.
It's important, folks. Dr. Panchoo, thank you so very much. And I am really looking forward to you coming back. Well, of course, I'll be calling you every minute. And if I call you, I know answer. I know where you're living, I know where your mother living, yeah, everybody living. So, you know, I come in and find you. Yes, indeed. You know, we have to continue these conversations. They are important. We are seeing signs, the signals are there that all is not well. So we have to play our part. And folks, we have this platform that we are using to try to educate and to disseminate information so that we all can benefit. You know, play your part as well. This is not something that Dr. Panchoo can fix by himself. Yes, he can lead and he can guide the process, but we all have a part to play. Let us do our part. Let us play a role so that as a people we can be better. Thank you everyone for staying with us. Join me tomorrow evening. It's Release It tomorrow. We talking politics. All right. So do have a good night. All the best. Doctor and Call was brought to you with the kind compliments of Antillean Life Insurance, Hills and Valley Pharmacy, and Spice Isle Imaging Center.